Welcome back, Wolfpack. Brolis here, and this is how to use Hippowdon. Yes, those tanky stats and the offenses. Oh my goodness. Hippowdon has some really amazing stats. So this is exactly what I like to see in a tanky Pokemon. I talk about it all the time. Over 100 hit points. That is excellent. Almost 120 defense. That is really good. 72 special defense. We can work with that with the 108 hit points. And the special attack and speed, we don't need them, and they're not that great, so it doesn't matter. And somehow, we are also gifted with 112 attack. Hippowdon has some really good base stats to go with, and I'm very happy about that. So when we look at typing, it is a pure ground typing. Now we do have these standard ground weaknesses, so that's going to be water, grass, and ice. Do have to worry about those, especially ice. A lot of people carry that because there are a lot of Pokemon that are weak to it, so that is something to be aware of. But other than that, we have an electric immunity, poison resistance, and a rock resistance as well. But for tanky Pokemon, you do have to be aware of some of your weaknesses, but overall, Hippowdon is going to clean up pretty well. Hopping into Pokemon Showdown. Wow, we're moving through this one pretty quick, aren't we? Let's go and look at what makes Hippowdon just crazy. So you want to be like the ultimate bulk Pokemon that just frustrates the opponent to no end. Now with Hippowdon, you come in and you set up Sandstream. As a ground type Pokemon, you're going to be immune to the Sandstorm damage, so you're chipping away just a little from your opponent. After that, you're super tanky, so you set up a Stealth Rock. Then you set up a Toxic. And then you can use Whirlwind. That's right, guys. Hippowdon gets Whirlwind. If you think that Skitty on Wailord action is really weird, now imagine a Hippowdon and a Shiftry going at it, and then now there's a Hippopotas that knows Whirlwind. I think that's more of an abomination right there, but it works for the moveset, so I'm not even going to complain. I'm going to incorporate it into the beauty that is the ultimate just burn down that Hippowdon can bring. So here's the cool thing about Hippowdon. It has Sustain as well, that it gets Slack Off. That a lot of Pokemon that are super tanky, sometimes they just don't have these sustain moves, so we have to overly rely on Rest Sleep Talk or something like that. But no, with Hippowdon, we can do everything in one. So we set up our Stealth Rock, we Toxic them, we Slack Off, and then when we're not taking too much damage, we throw out the Whirlwind. The damage between Sandstream, Stealth Rock, and Toxic is going to be really serious, and you just kind of keep phasing through your opponent's team. So you throw out some Toxic, Whirlwind. Throw out some Toxic, Whirlwind, Slack Off as needed, and by that time you just start getting super tanky. Now if you already have another Pokemon setting up Stealth Rocks, it is worth potentially going into a stockpile at this point. So Hippowdon is the ultimate awesome Pokemon because it also gets Stockpile. So we are going to be boosting our defense and special defense. So pretty much what we want to do is we want to come in and stay for the long haul. That we just set up Stockpile, become unkillable, then just Whirlwind and Toxic everything down, and we can actually get away with that pretty effectively because of those awesome defensive stats. As for the breakdown, I was thinking defensive nature because we can't pass up putting a beneficial nature into a 118 base stat. There's no way. Rest in the hit point special defense, going to be pretty balanced at this situation. We are going to be fairly weak specially, but if we get one or two stockpiles, that should negate some weakness. And now we're a 108 hit point Pokemon with a ton of bulk. So there's really no wrong that can be done here, and just a lot of stats to gain. And that's kind of it for your main Hippowdon. That you go for injury hazards, or you just kind of go with some kind of crazy burn down shenanigans. After that, there's also the option to use a weakness policy. Hippowdon is tanky enough to survive a super effective hit in quite a few circumstances. So you just fully invest in the hit points, and then you just go for the crazy damage because weakness policy procs. Now you're 112 base attack Pokemon that just doubled its attack. I'm pretty okay with this, and I think you would be okay with that too. So now Earthquake, Iron Head, Ice Fang, all that is just going to do ridiculous amounts of damage, and that's really all that you need to care about. So if we run this through PokemonDB.net, we get to see Steel and Ground. That works out pretty nice, and if we say threw in Stone Edge, well, that's going to work out, but it only gives us 399 super effective hits. If we switch that around to Ice Fang, that's going to be 469 super effective hits, and those are going to be some of the ones that count, like Dragon type super effective hits, and stuff like that. Anything else, it's going to be kind of difficult, like Fire Fang, still have some not very effective moves in there, so pretty much, if you want 3 types in Sustain, this is going to be some really good action to have right there, and now we can just kind of look at some other things for Hippowdon. So we do have the option to Rest Sleep Talk. This way, if you do get status, such as Toxic or Burn, you can shrug it off pretty well, and then just keep going for setup. With this, I was thinking about full special defense investment on that Careful Nature, and then we go into a Crunch. So the idea behind this is kind of like a Snorlax, that we get super high on the defenses. All you really need to do with this set is try to remove your opponent's ice threats, water threats, and grass threats. Most time there's not going to be too many of them, hopefully, so if you knock out the 1 or 2 big Pokemon that your opponent needs to have on their team to take out Hippowdon, you bring it in, you set up a Curse or 2, and then it's too tanky to take out, and all it has to do is rest, Sleep Talk, Crunch, and start going for 2-hit KO conversions, and then you're good to go. As for items, Leftover works pretty well onto a sleep rest talk Pokemon because you sleep, take damage, and then you're healing up as you're asleep, so you're getting a little bit of gain right there. Or you can also go for a Chesto Berry. Chesto Berry means you get one free full restore, and then you kind of do whatever else from there. That after you wake up from that, you hopefully have enough time to get an extra curse or crunch in there, slam down that damage, and then really carry yourself from there. But again, we can kind of run maybe Stockpile with this. Stockpile does cap at 3, so it is good to put that into your special defense, use curse to get your offenses up from there. And if you are playing a really long game, you can just remove Sleep Talk, go with Stockpile, double down on all that, and crunch, because it is a dark type move. While it can be pretty heavily resisted in some situations, it's not going to be immune by anything, so it is a very, very safe bet to use. Other things that Hippowdon can do: Gimmick. Why not run a Gimmick Hippowdon? That we just stockpile, become very unkillable, we throw out our 8 fissures, and then we toxic until we go down. That's Hippowdon, boys. Stockpile gives you the tankiness to do something like this, and if you want to run Gimmick, you can do this. I won't tell anyone if you're trying to be super cheese with this. So Chesto Berry on this set, some kind of defensive breakdown that I've shown a lot already, that we have the special defense investment, we have the defense investment, we have whatever you want to do, whatever you feel that your team needs to really work with Hippowdon. That it can also be like the ultimate physical beater. You can throw some kind of Rocky Helmet on it. Give Hippowdon a Rocky Helmet, that's going to be pretty good with just full hit point, full defensive investment. Since it does have that slack off, you bring it in, you soak up physical hits, you slack off, shrug off anything, and now it kind of plays like a full tank Garchomp. That a lot of people, they have full tank Garchomp, they just bring it in, and then the Rocky Helmet starts doing a lot of damage with that rough skin. Hippowdon can kind of do the same thing, if not better, because one, it's going to be tankier than Garchomp. Remember guys, Hippowdon has a 118 defense. If we go and look at Garchomp, it only has a 95 defense while having the same hit points, but I feel it just makes you much stronger to have sustain. It's like 2 KOs worth of hits and stuff. What you can do is you can kind of modify this set. You throw in the Rocky Helmet on top of it, and then you just really switch around the investment. That now you go for full defense investment, little bit of special defense, and it's kind of the same idea. Maybe not Whirlwind, because you don't want a special attacker to come in, unless you have if you have a full special defense tank with sustain, then go for it. Now you're just switching around. You can switch in for yourself, you can switch out for yourself. That if we also add the Stealth Rocks, very, very OP set right here. I think that this is one that probably could be played a lot more. If you just need a physical tank on your team, go for Hippowdon. It might work out really well. Just make sure it synergizes with the rest of your team. If you set up Sandstorm and you have to switch out, try not to make it to where you're actually screwing over something like your own Focus Sash. If you have another Pokemon that you're really trying to set up, they're taking that extra damage, it could be bad, but if you are running some extra Steel and Ground type Pokemon, Hippowdon can come in and probably be pretty good for it. After that, Smooth Rock, you can throw in Smooth Rock as an option, because Hippowdon is kind of like Tyranitar, and it does things that Tyranitar can't, such as survive a fighting type hit. Hippowdon, it has a little bit less on the weakness side, that at least it can tank up a super effective hit. Now, Tyranitar does have a lot of things in its advantage. Huge amount of defense, and with it being a rock type, it does gain a special defense boost from having Sandstorm on. You can throw an Assault Vest on and be really powerful. Also, Hippowdon, it can run pretty good with an Assault Vest as well. 112 attack, 108 hit points, you max everything out, throw on Assault Vest, go for 4 awesome coverage moves, and you're good to go. So imagine this, or actually imagine this and throw on rocks or something like that, and you should be pretty solid. Also, the cool thing about Hippowdon, let's talk about Sandstream synergy. So we have Sand Force, we have Sand Rush, and we have Sand Veil. Choose one for your team, singles or doubles, it doesn't really matter. With Sand Force is going to be incredibly powerful in double battles. That we saw on Fan Fridays, someone brought a Sand Rush Stoutland. Sand Rush is going to double your speed in a Sandstorm, so you bring the Smooth Rock as well. Stoutland went Protect, and then it went for a huge Stab Last Resort. So now we have a fast, overpowered Stab Last Resort coming in. Unstoppable stuff right here from the Stoutland. Excadrill, also very powerful. It can bring that Earthquake, so you just have Hippowdon Protect. Earthquake hits a lot of things. Also, a very powerful Iron Head from the Excadrill. Giving it that speed boost is really insane. You slap a Life Orb on it, go Adamant Nature. Excadrill is also going to bring a lot of power for that. Sand Force, or Sand Rush, is going to be able to boost Rock, Ground, and Steel type moves when in a Sandstorm, so that could be very powerful. Bring Mega Steelix next to it, now you have a super tanky Pokemon that can do a lot of damage. Overall, a lot of really good synergy right here. And then Sand Veil. Sand Veil is if you want to be kind of a jerk, that you run double team with a Pokemon with Sand Veil. So you get that Sand Veil going, you run double team, you hide behind that a bit, and then you play some kind of setup or stall game, and it can be rewarding. Hope you guys find a moveset that suits your battle style or your team, and I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you for watching.